The Steam Summer Sale 2025 is here, and in this video, I wanted to give you recommendations of games that will change your life. They will change your gaming life. And what do I mean by this? These are game recommendations that I think will open your mind up to games that you maybe never really considered playing. Or if you enjoy these games that I recommend, they'll open you up to a genre or a series of games that will give you countless hours beyond just the price of entry with these games. And some of them you might connect with, some of them you might not connect with, but I still wanted to go over all of them and kind of give you these recommendations because I really do think that these games can really change your life. They're not just your typical recommendations from the Steam Summer Sale, the classic Witcher 3s and stuff like that. I wanted to kind of go beyond that and talk about some of these games that are really just going to open your mind up to some amazing video games. So first up on the list is Stronghold Crusader. Okay, this game is amazing. Now, there is a definitive edition coming out in July, but at 70% off, $3 basically. This is one of the greatest strategy games, RTS games of all time. It's actually one of my favorite video games of all time. And this is just an amazing experience. It's overwhelmingly positive. It's kind of this medieval strategy game. It's for $3, you can have this amazing experience. And I think that with Stronghold Crusader, it's one of those things where if you don't play a lot of games like this can kind of open your mind up to so many different kind of old school RTS, old school strategy games that maybe you haven't played before or are missing. And so if you're not really into that genre, Stronghold Crusader is like an amazing entry point, and it's just an amazing game in general. Okay, next, Chrono Trigger. Now, a lot of people think of Chrono Trigger as one of the greatest video games of all time, but beyond just Chrono Trigger being an amazing video game, it's something that I think is a great entry point for playing JRPGs. If you've never played JRPGs before, Chrono Trigger is an amazing game. And I think for a lot of people, they look at the anime art style of JRPGs and they don't really resonate with it. And I think with Chrono Trigger, it's just this amazing entry point. This game is extremely well paced. There is essentially no fat on the bone with this game. It is very just efficient. It is a very streamlined and really impactful experience with amazing music, a great story, a great cast of characters. I would just recommend this game because it really can just open your mind up to an entire genre of video games within JRPGs, and it's a great starting point. And even if it doesn't open your mind up to other JRPGs, it's one of those games that can just be an amazing experience in of itself. Okay, next. This is a little bit of an unorthodox one, but it's the Legend of Heroes Trails games, and this is definitely not everyone's cup of tea. I would honestly recommend you actually playing a bunch of JRPGs before even trying this series, but if you do connect with this series, you're in for one of the most amazing experiences kind of all time within the JRPG genre. Basically, it is a series of games that have been going on for quite a while. They're all kind of continuous, and I think there's probably like 13 games now at this point, where it's all this kind of continuous story and this continuous world building. But I will say, this game series is definitely not for everyone. It is extremely slow paced. And I mean it. It is very, very slow. And when I say it's slow, I mean it's very, very, very slow. But it has some of the most amazing music of any video game series I've ever played. I think it actually probably beats the Final Fantasy series in terms of music. It's got amazing character development. It's got a great combat system, which is kind of unorthodox with JRPG games in general. And so this is kind of a story that is really amazing because it just continues. The world building continues game after game after game. And Trails in the Sky is the first game in the series. The first game is kind of slow, but then it picks up with Trails in the Sky, second chapter, the third, and then Zero and Azure, and so on and so forth. So if you've played some JRPGs, this is something where it's got a fanatic fan base, but it's definitely not for everyone. They're very long. There's a lot going on here, but if you actually do resonate with this game series, you'll get hundreds of hours of gameplay from the next games in the series. And it's just one of those experiences that can really open you up to something very unique within the video game space. Okay, Persona 4. So Persona is another good entry point into the JRPG genre. So Persona 4 is a really good game, and I'd also suggest Persona 5. If you're really not into Japanese RPGs, Persona 4 is probably a good starting point just because it's only $9. It's a bit cheaper than what Persona 5 is going for right now. If you've never given JRPGs a try, it's probably worth trying a Persona game. Just give it a shot because The music in these games are really amazing. There's a reason why so many people love these games. And I think they're worth giving a shot because if you do connect with the Persona games, you'll have hundreds of hours of gameplay from just being a fan of that one game. You'll get that similar experience with the other games in the series and maybe open you up to the JRPG genre in general. And of course, as I mentioned, Persona 4 is just the cheaper option. Persona 5 is amazing too. It's a little bit more expensive, 60% off, but either of those are great. If you kind of are more unsure about getting into Persona, maybe Persona 4 is a little bit cheaper of a price point to give this series a try. Okay, and then the last JRPG on this list, I swear, is Final Fantasy IX. I think that this is probably the best Final Fantasy game to start with if you've never played a Final Fantasy game or JRPGs in general. This is an amazing game, I really think that it's probably the best Final Fantasy, to be honest with you. And it's 70% off at $6. I mean, it's just worth giving this game a try. It really is quite amazing. And if you do resonate with this, like I said, you'll basically just have an amazing experience, but also could open you up to all these other Final Fantasy games that are really quite amazing. So this is definitely a game that if you really resonate with it, you've never played JRPGs, you've never played Final Fantasy games, this one's worth giving a try. I think this is probably the best starting point. And like I said, if you do like it, it can open you up to some amazing game experiences. Okay, next one is Stellaris, or basically all the Paradox games. So these games are not for everyone. These are grand strategy games where they take strategy to a whole new level. They are extremely complex. They are extremely deep, but they have such immersion in the games, and there's so much hours, assuming you kind of treat these games with respect and you basically put the time in to learn these games. You really can't go wrong with any of these kind of 3 Paradox games that I'm going to recommend, but basically at these price points, you can just get hundreds, if not thousands of hours of gameplay with these games. Like I said, they're not for everyone, but if you give them a real shot, you can easily have your money's worth with these games. So Stellaris is kind of like the space version of things. The next recommendation would be Europa Universalis 4, which is kind of more Renaissance, colonialism, that kind of side of things. And then the other one would be Hearts of Iron 4, which is World War II. And so they all have their pluses and minuses. They have very vibrant multiplayer communities. There's so many hours to play with single player. Like I said, they're not for everyone. However, if you have never played a grand strategy game before, this can open you up to a whole genre of video games that will give you thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours of gameplay. They're extremely unique. And especially if you feel like something is missing with a lot of more mainstream modern strategy games, this is something that can really change everything for you. Okay, so next, Stardew Valley. And I know countless people have recommended this game, but I think for a lot of people, they look at Stardew Valley and they think, this is not my kind of game, this is boring, this is just not my cup of tea. Give this game a try. I mean, at $7.49, this is just an amazing experience. It's a very chill game. I think that a lot of people, they might kind of brush these games aside because it's just kind of a very boring game. It's very, maybe a different change in pace if you're really kind of used to more action-oriented games. This is such an amazing game, and it's probably one of the peak games in this genre. And so I think that it's worth giving a try, because if you do like Stardew Valley, it opens you up to these huge amount of games that are very similar to Stardew Valley, which gives you, once again, hundreds of hours of game time. And even if you don't connect with those, Stardew Valley is just an amazing experience in of itself, and I think it's definitely worth giving a try. Okay, so next, another classic, Slay the Spire. This is an amazing game in of itself, but if you've never played these kind of games before either, this opens you up to this whole genre of kind of card games, of roguelike games that really kind of, I think, so many are inspired by Slay the Spire, and at $6.24, I mean, what a deal. This is just an amazing game in of itself. You can get so many hours of gameplay, and like I said, it opens you up to this huge genre of games if you've never kind of experienced these kind of games before. Okay, next is Subnautica. Subnautica is an extremely immersive experience. This is a very, very unique experience that I think that it's just really hard to get this experience anywhere else. And it's kind of, I think, a very approachable kind of open world crafting survival game that if you're not really kind of accustomed to those kind of types of games, Subnautica is a really good entry point. But not only that, it's such an immersive and great experience that I think it's just worth playing in of itself. And it might even expose you to kind of other games in the genre that are definitely worth playing. Okay, so the next one is Balatro, an extremely popular game, especially recently. I think that people know that this game is really great, but I think for some people, they kind of brush this game aside because it's a card game. But I think that it's so addicting. It's so enjoyable, and it really will probably open your mind up to so many different card video games out there. And it's only 10% off, which is not the greatest deal ever, but I really do think that this game is worth giving a try. I know it sounds a little weird because it's a card game and maybe you're just kind of more used to action games or something like that. But Balatro is absolutely worth playing, and I think it can open you up to so many different genres. Okay, another game is Satisfactory. This is an incredible game that can give you tens, if not tens, of hundreds of hours of gameplay. And it really is kind of, I think, such an amazing experience, and kind of opens you up to these kind of crafting games that really just kind of can give you hundreds of hours of gameplay. I think it's really a really good experience. It's very approachable, I think, for a lot of people for this genre. And another game I would recommend, but it's really never on sale, is Factorio. This game is literally never on sale. This is kind of I guess, the game that everyone recommends, but unfortunately, from the Steam summer sale perspective, there's no discount. So this is another game that I think is worth playing alongside Satisfactory, that can really just kind of open you up to this whole genre of video games that maybe you've never really experienced before. And then next we have RimWorld. I mean, this is another game that has kind of this huge level of popularity behind it, and there's hundreds of hours of gameplay, and a lot of games that are very similar to this game. A lot of games that kind of are part of this same genre, and they're all kind of inspired by Dwarf Fortress, which is the next recommendation, which both these games are 20% off. Dwarf Fortress is kind of the game that kind of inspired RimWorld and a lot of these other games. And I will say that both Dwarf Fortress and RimWorld can be a little intimidating. They're very different. It can be very overwhelming, but I think if you put the time into these games, you can get a lot out of it. You can get a lot of amazing game experiences from both of these games. They just are not for everyone, but like I said, they open you up to this kind of whole genre of video games that can give you hundreds of hours of gameplay. And so those are my recommendations for these games that can really change your gaming life. I mean, these are kind of the games that I think they open you up to these genres that maybe you've never really experienced before. They open you up to hundreds, if not thousands of hours of gameplay with the game itself, or similar games in the series, or games that are similar in the same genre. So I hope you found some great video games from this video. And let me know what you think is a top pick for the Steam Summer Sale 2025. And I will see you in the next video.